Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shelley and I created the channel for me to be able to share all things home, beauty, lifestyle, travel and things family orientated and anything else in between. And this particular video is going to be me sharing part 2 of my personal experience with H. pylori, which is a stomach bacteria that can lead to stomach ulcers. However, it doesn't always, and I just wanted to kind of share my experiences and help others because there wasn't a lot of information out there for me when I was going through this recently. I was diagnosed in February of 2023 and I received treatment, and I am now 3 months into the healing process of having that bacteria, and I think it's really important to share a personal real life experience. There wasn't a lot of information for me online when I really needed it, and I'm hoping that I can help you to save some time, save some money, save some stress and all the horribleness that comes along with being unwell and not knowing what's wrong. And hopefully then this will give somebody some clarity or a little bit more information and give some reassurance as well, because I think when you're going through something that's quite difficult to diagnose, it can be very stressful, and it's not nice. So this is me giving back. So hopefully if I'm able to help in any way, then this is exactly what I've done the video series for. Very quickly, this is just a disclaimer to say that I'm not a medical professional. This is my personal experience with H. pylori. The signs, the symptoms, the tests, the diagnosis, the treatment, anything that I've had beyond the diagnosis and the treatment, then it's all personal experience to me, and I'm just sharing it with you. It is a very private and a very personal thing. However, I do think it's really important that things like this are spoken about a bit more, because a lot of people are walking around with something that they don't know they've got. And I'm not saying that this is something that people have got. However, if it gives somebody a little light bulb moment and they think, hold on a minute, I'm going to go and get checked for that. I didn't realise that was a thing, or I am experiencing all of these signs and symptoms. Am I going to be okay? Then I just wanted to give somebody some reassurance and some clarity on some of the things that I've experienced, because it might make you feel a little bit better, and I really hope that it does. Over the last 10 years, I had been getting an awful lot of different digestive issues, which were then diagnosed as IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. I was also diagnosed with anxiety and a hormonal imbalance, but I knew that there was something causing that. That doesn't just happen on its own. There was something going on in my usually healthy body that was causing all of these signs and symptoms, and I hadn't got a clue what it was. So the symptoms that I was getting over the last 10 years ranged from bloating to headaches to food intolerances to hormonal imbalance to insomnia to low iron. And I started to get heartburn and indigestion quite frequently, and antacids became a staple in my medicine cabinet at home. And then when I actually had my huge H. pylori flare-up in September last year, I was having incredible gnawing pain underneath my rib cage. That's where the bacteria had obviously settled itself, or it had flared out of. And not only that, I was losing weight, I had terrible headaches, I was unable to sleep, I was unable to tolerate most foods, more so anything hot or spicy, which caused a fizzing sensation behind my eye. And I was really struggling at this point. And so that then led me on to having a test. And so part 1 of this series talks about that build up. We're now on to part 2, which talks about the actual testing process and what I finally did in order to find out that it was H. pylori. In February 2023, I called my doctor's surgery and asked to book in for a H. pylori breath test. I didn't actually go ahead with the breath test because I ordered a specific stool test through a nutritionalist, and these tests are usually only accessible through a naturopathic nutritionalist. And so I ordered this particular stool test from a company called In Vivo through her. That particular test was able to test for a lot of things, so I was really excited to find out what on earth was going on. I knew it was going to pick something up, and the tests aren't cheap. I paid just under £400 for this test. I needed to know what was going on, and I would have done anything at that point to find out. It was a lot of money to spend on a test, and I'm glad that I did it, but I know not everybody can do that. And so the other test that you can do is go to your GP and have a H. pylori breath test. I know that with the H. pylori breath test, you simply swallow a tablet, have a drink, and wait 20 minutes. You then blow into a tube, and the result will tell your doctor whether or not you've got H. pylori bacteria present. It's not a scary test. I've spoken to somebody who had it, and she was like, oh yeah, it's absolutely fine. You know, didn't even notice that I'd had it. It was fine. So there's nothing to be scared about if that's the route that you want to go down. And you're able to find out through your doctor within a matter of days, weeks, whether you have got H. pylori. I do know that with the H. pylori breath test that you can't have PPI a month before you have that breath test, so proton pump inhibitors. So you can't have anything like that for 4 weeks before you have the breath test, because it can give you a negative reading or a false reading. I also know that you can't have antacids for at least 24 hours before you're due to do the breath test as well. So that might be something that you just need to double check if that's the route that you want to go down. With the H. pylori test that you do with the doctor, it literally tells you whether you have H. pylori bacteria present or that you don't. And if you do, then the doctor can give you a prescription for some medication in order to help you eradicate the bacteria. The test that I did at home basically was a H. pylori test, which I did at home, that would tell me straight away whether or not I had H. pylori. I then sent off a sample to In Vivo, and they did some tests on that sample, and they were able to tell me things like whether I'd got candida, whether I got any kind of bacterial or fungal overgrowth, if there were any traces of SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It was able to tell me quite a lot actually about everything that was going on in my digestive system. The test that I did at home, I did it on the morning of the 27th of February, and I remember it so clearly because I was so excited to finally find out what on earth was going on in my tummy. And I did the test, and within minutes I had 2 lines appear on the test result strip. I panicked. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't actually know at this point what H. pylori was, and all I could think of was, oh no, what is this? What's going to happen to me? And I was scared. What I know now is that I didn't have to be so scared. And if I can give anybody any reassurance at this point, when you do a test, you don't need to be scared. It is a horrible situation to be in when you feel very unwell. However, this is me just trying to reassure, because at this point I was really scared, but you don't have to be. The H. pylori bacteria caused me incredible anxiety and panic. And so when I saw the positive result, I panicked. I contacted the GP surgery. They asked for a picture of my positive result. I sent that through to them, and by that afternoon the doctor had called me. I'd gone through everything that I needed to explain to him about what I've just been through since September with this huge flare up to February, and he was brilliant. He then prescribed me with a protocol of medication. The protocol of medication can differ from doctor to doctor. From what I've seen online and spoken to other people about, the medication can vary slightly, but it's usually 2 antibiotics and a PPI, proton pump inhibitor. With regards to the medication, I didn't want to take medicine. I didn't want to take medication. I would rather have gone the natural route. Is there no way of me being able to get rid of this naturally? I was really struggling with the signs and the symptoms, and it was just all a little bit too overwhelming, and so I went with the protocol. I was prescribed 2 antibiotics. I was prescribed amoxicillin, which I had to take 4 of each day, and I was also prescribed metronidazole, which I had to take 2 of each day, and then I was on a PPI, proton pump inhibitor, and I was on 2 of those per day, and this was for a week. I know that some doctors prescribe the eradication therapy for 2 weeks, but my particular doctor prescribed me this protocol for 1 week. So I was taking all of that for 1 week, and I would say by day 4 I noticed a huge difference internally in how I was feeling when I was eating, how much I was able to eat, and just in general, really. So I knew that it was working. I just had to keep going. It was tough. When you're taking a high amount of medicine like that, I was wiped out. I couldn't speak properly, which is why it took me so long to do these videos, because I was tired all the time and I just wasn't able to muster the energy to get through the day properly. So you really do need to, if you are ever put on that protocol or any medication to get rid of H. pylori, it isn't easy. But once you get to the other side of taking that medication, you start to notice and it feels really good. I took the medication for 7 days, so I had the 2 antibiotics twice per day and a PPI twice a day, the proton pump inhibitor. I then continued after the 7 days taking the PPI for a further 2 to 3 weeks under the instruction of my GP. So I followed the protocol that he gave me to a T, because I wanted to make sure that this bacteria was gone and that I was going to heal. So the bacteria was killed off by the double antibiotics, and then the PPI was basically there to help suppress the stomach acid level and allow the lining of the stomach to heal. Immediately after taking the week's worth of triple therapy medication, I was still having to take the PPI. So it was really hard to know whether I was fully right or whether I would ever feel back to normal again. And then I took the PPI for 3 weeks. After finishing the PPI, I was still getting a little bit of soreness just under my rib cage, which I believe is where the bacteria was thriving. I went along to the doctor just to double check that everything was okay, because I wasn't sure whether that was normal. I now know that it is. When you've had a H. pylori flare-up, your stomach is going to be very sensitive. You need to avoid acidic food and drink, and you need to be gentle with your body because it needs to heal. And healing does take a little bit of time. It can be frustrating because you've already been not well for such a long time and you kind of think, well, I've been taking medication, surely I should feel back to normal now. But you just need to hold on, because what I know now is that the medication has done its job and now you need to allow your stomach to heal. You know your body. If you still don't feel right, then you just get it checked. I was too scared because I thought I was wasting time by asking questions. But because I didn't really have much information to go on, I needed to find out what was okay, what was not okay. Did I need to be checked? Was there anything else going on? But as time has gone on, I've noticed that it's just been a very slow process, a very slow healing process. So in the next video, I'm going to share some of the things that I did that enabled my body to heal after the H. pylori eradication treatment. Foods that I ate, things that I did, and some adjustments that I made to life just to enable me to heal. And I really hope that that helps. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in part 3.